Hello and welcome to our garden, which is quite an eclectic garden with some California natives that we planted about 7 years ago, and a more planned garden that we had the pleasure of working with Ashini Fernanda and Deva Luna and planted by Earth Care Landscaping a year ago. We knew right from the beginning that we wanted a California native garden. Having embarked on this journey after attending a sheet mulching workshop at Regan's Nursery in Fremont in the early 2000s, and then discovering CNPS and GNGT. I would say this is quite a collector's garden, as we cannot contain ourselves when we routinely visit the Tilden Park native plant sale and other regional nurseries. We've learned the hard way that the better time to plant is in the fall. Our front yard is on the north side. This gives us an opportunity to show off many nice plants. Deva designed a symmetrical entry walkway where we created two small mounds to provide interest and have slopes for better drainage.
On the left, we have a volunteer buckwheat which is doing very well with no water and is surviving pedestrian abuse. The reed grass and the monardella are providing accent, and we hope that the manzanita grows to be the main focal point of this corner. Now you see sage, poppy, eriophyllum and nightshade on this mound, which are providing lovely colors. The idea was to provide symmetry of color and plants on both the sides. However, despite being only 5 feet away from each other, both the mounds are behaving very differently. On the left hand side mound, there was a buckwheat that we took great care of, but it suddenly died a week ago. That was not all. There was a curly blue vole on top of this mound, and it died late last year, but we took the opportunity to plant a rare silver lotus plant that is doing really well and has really pretty beautiful yellow flowers. The nightshade on this mound is fairly compact, but its sibling on the other side is growing well into its neighbors. The curly blue vole is barely visible, but is still a thing of beauty at this time. Similarly, the eriophyllum, yellow guy, is sprawling here, but on the other side it's fairly compact. On this mound you can also see Santa Cruz buckwheat. Also further along you can see a sprawling Salvia beast bliss, and it should be sprawling. There is also a splash of blue-eyed grass here, and further along there is another splash of yellow-eyed grass. We will come back to this area later, but right now let's go back to the front yard again.
Our kids' bedrooms face the street, and we realized we needed some kind of screening. We also like to spend a lot of time in the front yard, as it gets great morning and evening sun. Rather than blocking the windows, we decided we'd build a screen of tall, narrow natives along the boundary.
The first of these screens is a bush poppy, which is not doing very well. Next comes the mock orange, which is in full bloom now and is doing very well. The Nevins barberry has sweet and tart berries and yellow flowers in bunches. The chaparral mallow just got planted last year, and we hope it will grow into a big screen plant. Carpentaria is not happy in this place. Too much sun, too little water. Around the dwarf citrus are some fuchsias, bleeding hearts, and lemonade berry was planted last year, and because it grows slow, we propagated mallows, and they have grown in 8 months to crowd everything, including the red bud, which is sort of now really getting smothered by its mallow neighbors.
We also take care of the median between the walkway and the street, and there we just scattered a bunch of California poppy and blue flax seeds. The poppy characteristically decided to migrate everywhere, but the blue flax has really made the median its home and is spectacular. In the shade of the north wall, Deva suggested we grow juncus, heavenly smelling Indian mint, hedge nettle, and monkey flower. While waiting for the border screen to grow, we still had the issue of privacy for the kids' windows. And we are using decorative screens and hoping native climbers like Dutchman's pipe and clematis will make their way onto them. Between them are Bleeding Heart and Ribis King Edward. Deva realized that she needs to leave us room in the front yard to play. So we are growing two varieties of blue-eyed grass, and since Pushkar is partial to buckwheat, we have a lot of buckwheat. Behind the buckwheat is an old bird bath that we intend to fill with water for critters in the warm summer months. And here is our very messy mound of fuchsias.
Near about emerging every year reliably, just about now is narrowleaf milkweed. It has spectacular flowers, and ladybugs love them. We are hoping that the Edgewood mallow we planted last year will give this area a perennial focal point. On the other side of the mound is a Salvia apiana. Next to it is columbine, which is also very reliable in its appearance every year. We saw the lemonade berry from the other side, crowded by the mallow, and surprisingly, in the foot of narrow, we have a Humboldt lily which has just emerged, almost forgotten about it. In this vicinity is also soap plant, and a few weeks ago it had spectacular bloom. It was very, very lovely. Near about in this area is also showy milkweed. This is the first year it's coming back after going dormant. We also have in this area a hybrid mimulus and some sneezeweed. This is the first time we're going sneezeweed, some water hungry. This area also has a bench that our kids made, and it's a great place to sit in the afternoon in the late spring or even in summers and really admire the garden.
On the front porch are some planters with Louisias in full bloom, and some Dudleyas and sedums that were initially planted in a very sunny spot and were not happy at all.
Let's go back to where we left off before, the bees bliss salvia and the blue-dyed grass. On the other side of this, along the northern wall of the house, you can see Eriophyllum and Holodiscus discolor cream bush, which is doing very well. It didn't go deciduous this winter. Wonder why. Then the hedge nettle is really crowding the irises here, which were in spectacular bloom just a couple of weeks ago. Here is another view of the hedge nettle, and on the far side you can see hummingbird sage. What's curious alongside this path is about 3 weeks ago there were about 20 volunteer red buckwheats, and they were doing really well relative to this other guy which is now getting crowded by the sages and kind of struggling relative to the sages. You can see that this is the black sage with really beautiful white flowers on spikes. On the foothills of the sages is a spot of California aster with nice plain flowers. The Artemisia tridentata or sagebrush, we have had a very difficult time growing, considering it really thrives in the wild. It's almost a weed. We have a couple of gum plants which seem to be doing well, and this is a Costa buckwheat. The other guy on the mound earlier had died, but this is doing very well, and it has constant visitors of bees. This is also a pathway to the mound that Mrinalini will talk next about.
Our home is on the corner of a busy street, and we had been struggling for a way to have a visual and physical barrier. So we created a large mound made of dirt we saved from our home remodel project that we jokingly call Mount Everest. This mound gives us another great place for plants that need good drainage. The street side area of the mound is surrounded by tall bushes like the fennel bush and two fast growing mallows. On the house side, you can see natives that thrive on good drainage, like the Salvia epiana, the island bush poppy, and dune tansy. In the valley are salvias and sages we planted 6 years ago, which are now one big happy mishmash. On the eastern side yard, we were blessed with a beautiful, thriving Matilda poppy bush, which we have tried to contain as it can take over the entire corner, including the fire hydrant. We also wanted to plant more trees, and we chose the live oak, the madrone. In the understory neighborhood of the madrone are Sidalcia, coral bells, and taking advantage of the shade between the house and the fence, five-finger fern. In the backyard, Deva wanted us to have a little more of a painted canvas, so she layered plants using color and size, and you can see the blue penstemon and yellow heterotheca with the monardella on their right. Of course, the poppy decided to bomb the painting. Pushkar also wanted some lawn to nap on lazy summer afternoons, and we chose a native red fescue grass. A beautifully sculpted manzanita came with the house, and when it bursts into flower, it is spectacular. Along the fence, we went with more shade-loving and water-tolerant plants, like the ribes, which get beautiful tassel-looking flowers. At its base are two happy hybrid monkey flower plants. And towering over them is a fragrant pitcher sage. Panning to the right of the painting, we can see a splash of color from sulfur buckwheat, some common yarrow going wild, a happy orange desert mallow that had a spectacular bloom last fall, and beech aster, leading to an existing, very fruitful loquat tree, which provides us an understory to plant many shade-loving plants. We used part of a pine tree log as a bench for seating and edge our back patio.
Under the loquat tree are several shade-loving plants. You can see the accent provided by the deer grass surrounding the non-native maple. There is also a string of beech aster, and you saw the picture before. There is dune tansy, which is aggressively trying to take over the space from the hummingbird sage, which is kind of doing okay. You can see some Euchera maximus in the back. They're doing very well. On the far side, hard to see, but there are low growing manzanitas, and we hope they'll fill up the space. Near about the path is also a string of irises, and they were in spectacular bloom just a few weeks ago.
Ashini helped us realize the potential for creating another seating area in the corner of our yard, under the majestic oak growing in our neighbor's yard. As you walk along the pathway, you are flanked by the yarrow and desert mallow. You walk between a gateway of St. Catherine's lace and Galvesia to enter what will become a sanctuary. From this nice secluded shady area, we get to enjoy looking back to the main patio area with its sail shade and spiral paving. Interesting thing about the St. Catherine's lace, the one on the right is thriving, while the one on the left is really struggling. Next to it is some leafy reed grass, mock orange, carpentaria in the back, then what we think is a native azalea, but we're not sure. There's also a toyon that we planted new, spice bush, another string of alum root, and an existing older toyon which gets brilliant red berries in the fall that the birds really love. Under it is dogwood, some Santa Barbara sedge. Taking advantage of the shade is a leopard lily waiting to be transplanted, and a coffee berry in the back. Walking from the sanctuary to the lawn, you see on the left-hand side a splash of blue-eyed grass, a big bush of Cleveland sage, some deer grass, a Dr. Hurd manzanita, a Verbena della Mina, which is doing great, while its brother on the other side is not doing so well, even it is only 10 feet away. Moving along, there is some more blue penstemon and a Sedalcia, which was in spectacular bloom just a month ago. Let's now go to the west side yard of the house. Along the fence, we are growing many climbing natives, like the manroot, a clematis, a honeysuckle, climbing penstemon, and mountain mahogany. The side yard is also our nursery where Pushkar carefully collects the volunteers and tries to propagate them. He has had a pretty decent success rate so far. We used leftover pavers to create a lizard and succulent habitat. Not all the succulents are native, but there are a fair amount of native dudleyas. At the end, we leave you with a few more pictures from around the house, like the monkey flowers, some volunteer miner's lettuce, and a goldenrod. Thank you. We hope you have enjoyed the virtual visit to our garden, which has a mind of its own and tolerates and humors us into believing we have any control over it.